We're here today at the City of Phoenix with Andrew Price to show you how to do the chlorine dioxide and chlorite testing by standard methods, 4500 ClO2E by the Hawk AutoCAD 9000. Andrew?
Yeah, so we here, we're a water treatment plant, and we feed chlorine dioxide on site, so we have to measure for chlorine dioxide residual and chloride residual. So that's what we use, AutoCAD 9000, and I will walk you through the procedure of how we do that.
Okay, so this is AutoCAD 9000, and when you turn it on, you're going to come to this main screen right here. The thing that is good, what you need to do before you do anything on this is that you need to make sure that there's no air in any of these lines. Is that it uses such small amounts of titrant that any sort of air bubble or anything in there could throw the whole test off. So how you do that is you come over and you'll go to the titrants menu of this, which is by arrowing over once, and then we'll come down to burette functions, which is number 6. So I'll hit number 6. I'll pull this out. This is my storage. I'll put my rinse waste in there, and I'll want to empty this back here to make sure that it pushes all the air that could be trapped in there, and then it will draw more titrant out of these lines from this bottle. So what I'll do is I'll go empty, and that's number 2, and then you can watch it empty. And as you're doing this, it's always a good idea to maybe tap these lines. If there is a trapped air bubble in there, it will work its way out. So now it's empty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it. So that's number 1. I will hit number 1, and it will fill from there. So now that that's done, everything should be good there. We're verified that there's no air bubbles in there or any of these lines that we can see visibly. So we're going to escape to get out of the burette functions menu, and then we're going to tab over using the arrow. Now this is the main screen where we're going to run the test. So what I have here is the chlorine dioxide. So I'm going to hit run method, which is number 1. That's going to ask me for my user initials, so I will change that because that is not me. Check mark to enter. You'll say, there's your user, my initials, confirm is number 1. So I'll hit number 1. So what this sample is, you can change the sample ID. What this one is a finished water sample, which is considered entry point to distribution system. That's the sample that I'm going to run. And the volume for the test is 200 milliliters. So this is all correct. I will hit 1, confirm. The first step is, it says add reagent number 1, phosphate buffer 1 dose. So this test is a 4-part titration. Will require 400 milliliters of water. So I'll take my first 200 milliliters and I will pour it into my sample container that has been triple rinsed. So I'll pour that in there. It says add phosphate buffer 1 dose. So this is my phosphate buffer solution. This is key too, is that you want to make sure that you purge this to where you don't have any air, that you're getting a solid sample of the dose. So I'll put that in, and I'll hit the check mark for OK. It says add reagent number 2, potassium iodide 1 gram. So here's my potassium iodide. I will throw this on my stir plate so it will stir. I'll dose that. Let it mix up. It'll mix up on here also. So I added that. I'll hit the check mark for OK. I'm going to say reagents mixing. Now it says dip electrode in sample. So we'll dip this in the sample. Hit OK. Now this is where you need to set your pre-doses and your increments of the titrant that is dosed into the sample. So what we have here is that this first sample is going to read the chlorine basically. So what I do is that I know that this sample is roughly 0.9 parts per million of chlorine residual in this sample. So I'm going to take this chart and say 0.9, I'm going to pre-dose at 0.4 milliliters, which is already in there. And I'm going to increment, I'm going to go at 0.005. So it's at 0.001 right now. So I will tab down to that. I will hit the check mark to change. And I will go 0.005, check mark for enter, and I will confirm, which will be number 1. So while this test is running, I'm going to take my other 200 milliliter sample, and we have to purge this sample for the third titration of it. It's a 15-minute purge of nitrogen. So to cut down on time, we'll purge that third sample right now, so when this one is done, that I can just get on with this one. So what it's going to take is another dose of phosphate buffer. I'll put that in there. I will start my nitrogen. Nitrogen purge. So dial that down a little bit. And I'll start my timer. It's 15-minute purge. So this was the end of the first titration, and what you'll get is this nice, hopefully you'll get this nice long sloped line that has a nice clear endpoint. It'll make this chirping sound to let you know that it's done. And then so we'll come up here and you'll have to adjust to find the endpoint. So the automatic function of this isn't usable, so we'll use the manual function. So for manual adjustment, we'll hit delete. So we'll hit the delete button. And come in here, you'll see that there's 4 cursors along this slope. We'll need to adjust these cursors accordingly to find the direct endpoint. So what I'll do is this cursor is highlighted, so I'll go down to this last cursor right here, and I'll move this one all the way out to the very end. So the next cursor I'll take is this one. This third cursor is going to go right to the end, right just past the endpoint. So I'm going to move this one just to the bottom, just a little bit past where it bottoms out. Right there. So then my second cursor, I'm going to go just to the other side of there, right before the endpoint flattens out. And then this first cursor, what this is going to do is create your picture of the data points that it's going to analyze. So you want to get past any of this noise up here, which is good. It's already in a pretty good spot. I'll move it over just a little bit though, to get rid of that little hump. So we'll go right there. So this is your data points right here. So we'll hit OK. And what we're looking for on this screen is basically a flat line on this bottom line. So if you have a line that's angled more, you're going to have problems. But this one, it's a flat line, you see, because it has a nice even, it has a lot of data points that it can collect the data from. So we'll hit OK. So we were done with the first titration, so now we're going to start the second titration. So what this screen tells me to do, it says add reagent 1, hydrochloric acid 2.5 normal, 2 milliliters. So I'm going to take my sample, I'm going to take my acid, I'm going to purge the line again, just like with the phosphate buffer. I'm going to add in my acid. Then it says stir and place solution in the dark. So I'm just going to put this on my stir plate. Give it a few seconds. that stir up. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to place this cover over it so it'll be in the dark. So now I'll hit OK. Now it says dark reaction in progress. Please wait, and it's a 5-minute wait. So now my 5 minutes is over. Now it says place sample on the instrument and dip electrode in sample. So I'll take my sample. Now we're going to have to pre-dose and pick our increment on this one also. So from my chart, it says for the second titration, I'm going to look on here, and what I'm going to use is I'm going to use my standards up here to compare. So I have my different colors up here. So I think this one has about the right tint. So I'm going to take this, and what this says is it thinks that there's 0.4 milligrams per liter. So I'm going to throw this on here. I'm going to go to my chart, and I'm going to see 0.4, and it should tell me to pre-dose 0.3 milliliters, an increment of 0.02. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the electrode in the sample, hit OK. My pre-dose parameters, I'm always going to undershoot it a little bit, because what happens is that you can't really underdose this, but if you overdose it, then you'll throw the test off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down to, say, a 0.2, or 0.2, which would be a pre-dose of 0 and an increment of 0.005. So my pre-dose is set at 0, my increment is already set at 0.005. If I were to change that, I would just come over, hit the check mark, and change it, and hit 1 to confirm. So I'll hit 1. It'll confirm. Now it's going to run the other test. So this titration is ended, and I have another nice gradual slope. So it's going to be the same thing as before. I'm going to adjust the cursors to find the endpoint and take a snapshot of the data points. So I'm going to hit delete for manual edit. I'm going to come in here again. I'm going to adjust my last cursor first. I'm going to bring it almost all the way out to the end. I'm going to go to my third cursor. I'm going to move that just past the endpoint. My second cursor, I'm going to go just before the endpoint. And the first cursor, I'm going to move it up actually a little bit, because I have nice data points right in there, before I hit to this top where there's a little bit of noise. So I have all the cursors set. I'm going to hit OK. I have a nice straight line on the bottom, nice endpoint with it hitting down there at the bottom. So I'm going to hit OK to accept that. And now at this point, this sample right here is done. Okay, so we're done with the first test, the first 2 titrations. So now in the third and fourth titration, we're going to use our other 200 milliliters of sample water that I had already purged for 15 minutes, because it will require you to purge that sample. So if you don't do that, then you're going to have to sit here for another 15 minutes and purge the sample and wait. So it's going to say renew sample with another 200 milliliters of water, which I have here, already purged. I'll hit OK, confirm, number 1. It'll say add phosphate reagent buffer, which I already did, and purge with nitrogen. I'll hit OK. Purge in process. There's my 15-minute timer, but I already did that, so I'm going to skip that. I'll hit delete to skip that point. Now it says add reagent number 2, potassium iodide 1 grain. So I'm going to take my sample. Put it on my stir plate. What we're going to do is we're going to do essentially the exact same 2 titrations, just on another sample. So I added that. I'll hit OK. Now it says reagents mixing. What I want to do on this one, though, is that this is a new sample, so I'm going to want to clean my probes in here so I don't get any water that was done from the previous test on it. So I'm going to take my sample back up, dip it in, hit OK. Now here's where I generally know that I'm going to have roughly, I'm feeding at this plant about 0.9 parts per million of chlorine dioxide. So that's where I'm going to go on my chart. And what I'm feeding is 0.9 parts per million of chlorine dioxide. So it's going to give me my pre-dose and my increment again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-dose it. I'm going to go down one step. I'm going to go to 0.8. So I'm going to pre-dose 0.3, and my increment is going to be 0.005. My pre-dose is set at 0.3. My increment, I'm going to go down, and I'm going to change that to 0.005. Enter, and confirm. Now it's going to run the third titration. Right, so this is the end of my third titration. It's making my noise again. So I have another nice long line with a nice endpoint. So I'm going to adjust the cursors again. I'll hit delete. I'll go in and I'll adjust my fourth cursor first. I'll bring that one all the way up to the end once again. My third cursor goes just past the end point. Second cursor just goes just before the end point. And my first cursor is actually in a pretty good spot right there. I have a nice even line all the way down. So I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to hit the check mark for OK. I have a nice long straight line on the bottom again, which is good. I'll hit OK. Now it says add reagent 1, hydrochloric acid 2.5 normal, 2 milliliters, stir, and place solution in the dark once again. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take my acid once again. I'm going to purge this. I'm going to put this on my stir plate again. I'll add the acid in. I'll let that stir for a second. Take it off, put it in the dark, hit OK. Now I have a 5-minute reaction time. Okay, so I'm done with my 5-minute dark reaction. It says place sample on instrument and dip electrode in the sample. So I'm going to compare my sample to my standard, and that's where I am. I'm pretty close right there. It says 0.4. So I'm going to place this one on here. Bring it down. Now I'm going to set my pre-dose and my increment again. So it's saying 0.4. I'm going to drop it down again just a little bit lower, which would be 0.3. So I'm going to go 0 as a pre-dose and 0.02 as an increment. So I'm going to go 0. I'm going to come down to my increment, change that to 0.02. Check mark to confirm. And 1 to start the test. Okay, so now this fourth titration is done also, and I also have a nice sloped line with a clear endpoint. I'm going to adjust the slope, adjust the cursors on this one also, so I'll hit delete. This one I'm going to move the first cursor first. And I'm going to go all the way to the top. Since I don't have a lot of noise in that sample, I'll go to the second cursor, and I'll move that just before the endpoint. Third cursor just after the endpoint. This fourth cursor is way out here, so I'll just leave it alone from there. I'll hit OK, and now this will give me my actual result. It'll give me the nice flat line again. I'll hit OK. And here's my results. So my results are chlorine at a 1.089 milligrams per liter of chlorine. Chlorine dioxide is a below detectable limit. And my chlorite residual is 0.236 milligrams per liter of chloride. So that's how you run this test. The things that you need to look for that you really need to make sure that you do is purge the air bubbles out of this. Like I said before, it takes such a small amount of titrant to make this test work. If you have any sort of air bubble in there, it will throw your graph way off. If you see your graph and it's acting really weird, a lot of the times it's due to an air bubble that's trapped in the line that gets in there to where it thinks that it's dosing that titrant, but it's actually just feeding the air bubble into the sample. The other one would be glassware, is that you really need to make sure your glassware is really clean, you don't have any iodine left over in that, because that will throw off the results of the test. And then the third one that is also very important is that your acid and your phosphate buffer, that you make sure that you purge those also, because if you only get a half of a dose of the phosphate, you could throw it off, or the acid, the same thing. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward to test. It's pretty easy to find out when you have a problem with the test, and it's either generally always associated with an air bubble in the line, glassware not being clean, or you're not getting the correct dosage of your chemical.